Jones versus Combs, Part 2. Reading of court documents. Now, I will try to be more attentive to the time, y'all. I'm sorry. Where we left off at, let me move it up. If you look at J, okay, I said R&B singer and the name is redacted in Mr. Combs' Los Angeles home consorted with underage girls and schmex workers. If you go all the way down to the bottom where it says for, it says that R&B singer, it doesn't give a name, but it says he is a Grammy award-winning R&B singer who had trouble with law enforcement after assaulting a Bajan billionaire. BAJAN billionaire. Now, I haven't heard of this, so if y'all have, please let me know. Okay. We're moving fast, y'all. There are like 73 pages in this document. We're already on number 9. And again, I don't have to go through all of them, only the good stuff, okay? And I don't want to say good stuff like it's good because it's horrible, but just the stuff that you want to know, not like legalese, okay? So remember, we're at Chalice Studios, and Diddy, his son Justin, and Justin's friend G had went into a bathroom 2 feet away from Mr. Jones, and then pow pows rang out. Okay, so now we're on this page. Mr. Jones immediately went into a state of shock and feared that he would be shot next. Mr. Jones genuinely believed that he would be shot through the door due to how close he was. After the shooting ended, a crowd gathered around the restroom. When the door finally opened, Mr. Combs and Jay Combs exited. Jay is Justin. G was laying on the restroom floor in a fetal position, holding his stomach and bleeding out of his leg hip area. Everyone stood around looking upon G. Frustrated by the lack of aid to G, Mr. Jones dropped everything, ran to G, and immediately began placing pressure on G's gunshot wound to his stomach. As he was applying pressure on his stomach, Mr. Jones realized that G was gushing blood from another area near his leg and hip. He decided to lift G and placed him to sit on the toilet. Mr. Jones asked the crowd to call the ambulance. Mr. Jones lifted G and brought him to the ambulance at the studio's front. At this time, Mr. Combs and Justin disappeared to another part of the studio. Mr. Combs gave strict instructions to inform the police that he had nothing to do with the shooting. He also forced Mr. Jones to lie to the police by telling them that G was shot standing outside the studio by a drive-by assailant. Wow. This is just the image of a news article that appeared during that time to corroborate that the shooting actually happened. If you look at the bottom, number 45, Mr. Jones has several corroborating witnesses who spoke with this writer anonymously due to fear of retaliation from Mr. Combs. They have agreed to speak publicly when subpoenaed. All right, y'all, the next pictures I show are going to be the pictures from the bathroom, okay? So if you don't like the sight of blood, then you might want to, forward through this. Okay, so again, this is the image of the bathroom, the aftermath, the shooting of G. If you recall, G was, I guess, is a friend of Justin Combs. Mr. Jones had the clothing, and I'm sorry, a good friend of Justin Combs, excuse me. So Mr. Jones, who is Rodney Jones, the one that brought this lawsuit, Mr. Jones has the clothing he wore that day and believes it may still have the stains and DNA of G's blood. The following are screenshots of the aftermath of the restroom where G was shot by either Mr. Combs or J. Combs. Clearly, G was not shot outside the studio as Mr. Combs instructed his team to report to law enforcement. Mr. Combs and defendants LR, MR, UMG, and CRS provided private security for the writer's camp at the defendant, CRS. The security was porous and lackluster at best. The fact that either Mr. Combs and J. Combs were allowed to enter CRS with guns and those guns were not confiscated by security is a clear breach of duty by Mr. Combs, defendants LR, MR, and UMG to protect Mr. Jones and other attendants of this writer's camp. As a result of this shooting, Mr. Jones is severely traumatized. Mr. Jones now suffers from PTSD, severe anxiety, depression, and insomnia. The next page deals with how Mr. Jones was harassed by Mr. Combs. Throughout his time living with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was the victim of constant, unsolicited, and unauthorized groping and touching of his anus by Mr. Combs. These events took place in LA, New York, Florida, and the United States Virgin Islands. In addition to the unsolicited and unauthorized touching, Mr. Jones was forced by Mr. Combs to work in Mr. Combs' bathroom as Mr. Combs walked around naked and showered in a clear glass enclosure. As a heterosexual Christian man, Mr. Jones was uncomfortable with Mr. Jones was uncomfortable with Mr. Combs' advances and expressed his discomfort to Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Corin. And, she's also known as KK. KK responded to Mr. Jones' complaint with, Sean will be Sean. KK also attempted to downplay Mr. Combs' groping of Mr. Jones's anus and genitals as friendly horseplay, stating that those acts were Mr. Combs' way of showing that he likes you. Despite these assurances on several occasions, when Mr. Combs began to undress and walk around his house naked, KK would say, "Okay, I am leaving now," and she would disappear. KK's hypocrisy is breathtaking at best or enabling at worst. Mr. Jones believed that KK aided and abetted Mr. Combs. Okay, let me make sure I read that right. Mr. Jones believed that KK aided and abetted Mr. Combs' SA of him and was working with Mr. Combs to groom him into accepting a homosexual relationship. Through these deviant acts, one would say Mr. Combs has a pattern and practice of engaging in such nefarious activity. This ongoing conduct shows that Mr. Combs cannot be rehabilitated. Next is titled, Mr. Combs Attempted to Groom Mr. Jones into Engaging in Gay Sex. Mr. Combs was aware that Mr. Jones looked up to and idolized music producer Stephen Aaron Jordan. And then, he's known as Stevie J. You guys know Stevie J was married to Faith Evans, appeared on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Stevie J is an American DJ, record producer, and television personality. Stevie J was part of the Bad Boy Records production team, The Hitman. In 1997, Stevie J won a Grammy for his work on Puff's debut album. Throughout the late 1990s, Stevie J produced for several artists, including Mariah Carey, Tevin Campbell, The Notorious B.I.G., 112, Jodeci, Faith Evans, Jay-Z, and Eve. Stevie J was one of the producers on the Love album. So if you guys recall, that's the reason why Diddy asked Rodney Jones to come to assist him and produce this album. So Stevie J was also a producer on the album. Now, this is supposed to be a picture, y'all. A screenshot. You're going to see more screenshots. It's supposed to be a video. It's screenshots of a video of Stevie J with a Caucasian male and act, but you can't tell anything. And I really can't tell that, well, in this picture I can't, but you're going to see the next picture. Okay, so Mr. Combs used access to Stevie J and his knowledge of Mr. Jones' admiration of Stevie J to groom and entice Mr. Jones to engage in homosexuality. Mr. Combs went so far as to share a video of Stevie J and what I just told you, Stevie J performing an act with a Caucasian male without a condom. This was done to ease Mr. Jones' anxiety concerning homosexuality. According to Mr. Combs, this is a normal practice in the music industry. Look, even Stevie J is doing it. Mr. Combs informed Mr. Jones that he had engaged in intercourse with rapper and it says redacted, R&B singer, redacted, and Stevie J. If you guys look at the bottom, you'll see the redaction. So the first redacted, the rapper down below 5, again,